Hi everyone, and welcome back to this episode of KWC Kopi with Chris. And in the studio with me today, my Kopi Kaki, someone that you will, most of you, many of you, will find really, really familiar. He is the face that's been around for the last general elections, contesting for the ward of Potong Pasir. A lot of people there know him as Jose, and that's Jose Raymond. Welcome to the show, Jose.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the coffee, but I'm, almost half done with it.
Don't
I
worry.
really need more, though.
More will come. Don't worry. More from where that one came from. And it's actually from our good sponsors, Kaki. And it came with the sandwiches as well. And Kaki is located at Ang Mo Kio Hub 53, Ang Mo Kio Avenue 3, units, basement 1, units 51B and C. Thank you again, Kaki, for providing us our kopi, and also for my Kopi Kaki, and also providing us with the sandwiches for today. Now, let's start the show.
Am I allowed to eat?
Of course you can.
You sure?
Of course. Reach out for it, man. Reach out and touch one of those goodies. Come on. Go right ahead.
Later.
Go right ahead.
Maybe
okay.
later.
Okay, but feel free.
Okay.
Feel free. They're delicious. So, Jose, this is something that we do on the show when we have our Kopi Kakis here. And that would be to ask our friends or friend to tell everyone at home who you are and what you're all about. The mic's yours.
Who am I and what am I all about? Well, I guess you can call me a bit of a social activist. You can also call me a sports activist. And after, obviously, the last general elections, you can also call me a would-be politician. But in my professional life, I run a strategy firm, and I've got a bunch of clients whom we help to navigate past lots of policy issues or public affairs issues, and perhaps clients who actually require communication support or PR support.
Right.
So the bulk of my life actually has been spent in the media, in public service, and now, obviously, as a public face, I spend most of my time trying to help people deal with issues.
Okay. When you say help people deal with issues, what do you mean? Can you be specific?
Well, in multiple ways. Let's talk about from my political perspective, in my political life. When I knock on doors, I'll always have people requiring support, or whether or not it's employment, or whether it's trying to deal with an issue with which they are facing, whether it could be as simple as trying to get an appeal on a fine, or maybe even some rejection which may have got from some government agency because of they don't meet some criteria. So that means, for me, it'll be trying to understand the issue and trying to help them solve it, or to as deep to what I do in my professional life, where I help our clients to navigate past problems which they have, say when they've set up and they do not understand how to get past bureaucracy, or how to work with media on certain issues. So it's my role to help them.
Okay, but that's your professional life. The one that you mentioned, the former that you mentioned earlier, helping people, listening to their grievances and stuff, and helping them out, writing letters and all. That was in your capacity, of course, as someone who was contending or contesting for the general elections at the time. How about now, post-elections?
No. Actually, the work already had started way before the elections, and you don't get into something like that thinking that you're gonna stand for elections. You get into something like that just wanting to see how you can help people, because sometimes some of us are blessed with the opportunities which are given to us in life, and we find ways to pay it forward. So when we knock on doors, we see how people live, and some of them do not even know how to get help, and with our resources and our skills, we provide them the support.
Okay, but now that the general elections are over, are you still helping people out?
Yes. So in the course of the last couple of years, and also including during the general elections, most, if not all, residents know how to reach me through my social media platforms or even my personal mobile number. So, plus, apart from that, we set up a website where they could actually write in if they have an issue which they need dealing with, and that lands in my personal email, and I help them work on it. So, even till today, I am still helping people deal with problems. In fact, I just came from a meeting which requires some intervention. So, work like this, social activism, it doesn't stop just because a general elections is over, because it's always going to continue, and people are always going to need help. And actually, in this current time, during this pandemic, more people are going to need help compared to when things are good.
Right. Okay. And you've had quite an interesting background. You've been a sports writer, a songwriter. That one really got me.
Songwriter?
Yeah.
What?
Did you write a song?
Yeah, I co-wrote the
there we go.
The theme song for the Asian Youth Games in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah,
because so I was songwriter.
Not as good as you, but
never wrote a song.
Oh, really? Okay, maybe you're just the performer. I'll write a song for you then. Yeah, but that was because I was the head of communications and for the Asian Youth Games in Singapore, and I ended up writing the song for it. And I worked with a co-writer from the Ministry of Education on it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I actually even came up with the tune for the song, and we got a maestro Iskandar to help us with the
the late great Iskandar,
and we got him to help us with the music composition.
A right man for the job.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And it was a national project, so yes, I'm quite proud of that, because I think it's in it's now calcified in Google. Yeah,
that's how we found out.
Oh, okay.
And you were also the CEO of the National Environment Council,
Singapore Environment Council.
The Singapore Environment Council, press secretary to the Youth Olympic Games under Mayor Teo Salak, and also with Minister Vivian Balakrishnan.
Yes.
So you've done so much.
Not enough.
Not enough?
No.
So you've been job hopping from one thing to another.
No, it's not job hopping. It is getting as many experiences as possible.
Okay.
You see, what's the point of doing one thing and only one thing in your life? I see life through very different lenses.
Okay.
For me, it's more about writing as many chapters as possible, because you learn in every single thing which you do. With every single role which you take, you expand your networks, and then you try and that actually, that's one of the reasons why I think I'm effective in what I do. Today, if someone calls to me with a problem saying, I need a job, for example, I'll be able to link that person up quite quickly, because I've got a huge network. And these networks are born out of every single role in which I've taken, whether it's a full-time role or a voluntary role. Essentially, you meet tons of people, which is why if you ask any entrepreneur or anyone who starts a business or anyone who's successful, they'll tell you that networking is one of the most important things in being successful, because your networks are your net worth. You see, so through these networks, I help others.
So it's about who you know?
I'm like the Robin Hood. I take from the people who have and help those who don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Robin Hood. I don't know whether or not that would be the right description. It's a bit dangerous though, but I get the idea. So, but even today, what you're doing today, as you say, it's more PR work, isn't it?
No, it's
strategy.
Not. PR is just one facet of the work which we do.
Communication.
Some of them, yes, communications, public relations, public affairs, strategy building, crisis communications. If you had ever watched the series in the past called Scandal, which Olivia Pope, I'm the Olivia Pope. I solve problems. I fix problems.
Okay, but your job, all the roles that you've played, even up to today, seem to revolve around your experience as a journalist.
There was one point in my life where I thought that I'll be a journalist for life. I know, and it was like the dream job which I always wanted, and I actually got it. And I always thought that I'll never do anything else in my life, or the only thing which I was born to do was being a journalist. I I spent time in Straits Times, and then I spent 7.5 years in MediaCorp. And these were among the best days of my life. I did investigative journalism. I won the Journalist of the Year award in 2006 in MediaCorp. Won Story of the Year awards in 05, 07. I thought that would have been what I would be doing until the day I retire.
Right.
But after what changed me was after I won back-to-back awards in 5, 6, and 7, 05, 06, 07, I was actually worried I was going to be a failure. That if the following year I don't win an award, I'll feel like I failed. And so what I decided to do was do something else. Take my skills elsewhere because I had nothing else to prove as a journalist anymore.
How do you actually get into journalism to begin with?
Very good question. And actually, I've got a very interesting story to tell. I had... sometime in 1995, I wrote into a magazine, which was at the time called Sports Singapore. That was the name of the magazine, Sports Singapore.
Okay.
And the magazine basically had a question, who is the better footballer, Sundramoorthy or Fandi?
Here we go.
Right? So and the best letter would have won you a pair of binoculars.
Really?
I actually just wanted a binoculars. Because I thought, it'd be good for me to go, if I go camping and everything.
Okay.
I just wanted the binoculars. So I wrote in and I basically proved, or I wrote fighting for Sundram being the best footballer, the better footballer of the two.
Really?
Yeah. And so I got a call a couple of weeks later, and it was the editor who said, we got your letter, and
did he really speak that way?
Yeah, we got your letter, and we wanna give you the binoculars, but we've got something else to talk to you about. I said, what? So I said, what? I said, what happened? Can I have my binoculars if you think that I bought it? He said, well, we'd like you to come to the office. I said, okay. So I went to the office, and they said, I would like to offer you a job. I said, huh? So, but we can give you the binoculars too. I'd like to offer you a job. I said, oh. So that's how I got into journalism.
But when you wrote that piece for the contest, what were you doing at that time? Were you working or were you studying?
I had just completed national service. Yeah, so it was 1995.
95?
See, no, I spent some time as a regular serviceman, and then I decided to come out of my contract. So I was just completed my national service.
Okay, you and I both know this. The people at home don't know.
Oh, yes.
We know each other because we were platoon mates during our basic military training.
Known each other for 30 years now.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've seen him in the naked. I've seen him bath in
in
the nude.
Gosh, I never ever thought of it that way, but never mind.
In the same toilet with 40 other people.
40 other people cramped in one small little toilet. Yeah, I remember that very well.
Yes.
Freezing water as well.
Yes, and he was the MC, and Chris was the MC for I think our POP night or something, if I remember.
Was I?
For the entire. You brought your suits into camp. We were booking.
I did. Oh, I don't remember, man.
I had chicken pox.
Oh, but one thing I don't remember is that you signed on as a regular.
Yeah. So I did 1 year, not 1 year, but a couple of months after we finished our basic military training.
Oh.
And I had to do that because my dad wasn't working, and we needed actually to solidify our finances at home.
So supplement the family income.
So my dad wasn't working. It was just myself, my father, and my brother, because my parents had split many years before that. So my dad wasn't working, and we needed. He couldn't cope with the finances. Mm-hmm. And if you actually know my political history and how I got involved in Potong Pasir, it's also because Mr. Cham had helped us out at that period of time. Right,
during that period.
Yes. So it was like early 1990 where we lost our home, and we had to move into a smaller home, and Mr. Cham paid for the deposit for that home, and it was exactly that time when we had left basic military training.
So, that was that period. Okay. So you signed on as a regular in the army, and you broke the contract. Mm-hmm. And when you wrote that piece to the magazine, it was, you just got out of the army.
Yeah. And
you had no job yet.
I was a couple of things I had to do. One would be obviously to continue my studies, and I was looking. Yeah, I was looking, and well, one thing leads to another, and sometimes looking for one thing leads you to another, and you try something, and yeah. So I met the editor and gave me my binoculars,
Yeah.
and also gave me a job, and that was the step in, and after that it was basically journalism all the way until 2007,
Wow.
and I completed my studies when I was actually working.
Okay. So really, this is the base establishment of who Jose Raymond is, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, it's essentially you try different things, and you never know where life takes you,
Yeah.
and you go with the flow. And sometimes, there's something which one of my mentors always taught me: never be afraid to try different things, and because you'll never know who you'll end up meeting and where it will lead you. So
life has been quite an adventure for you, and it still continues to be an adventure.
it'll always be an adventure. You live your life. You live your life like as though it's your last, and then you figure out what do you do every single day. Who do you go and disturb every morning? Who do you go irritate today? Or who should I go and try to poke a little bit so that I can get a response from him or her? You try and see how you can push the boundaries a little bit more. You can try and see how you can push the OB markers. You try and see how you can actually make life better for someone else. And you have fun along the way.
Yeah. The first bit you mentioned, who to call up and disturb in the morning, today, who am I going to be asking questions, going to be so tough. Sounds like a bit like me, lah. Thanks. Yeah. which is
By the way,
it's a generational thing.
That line was something which Ivy Seng Lim taught me when I was first a journalist, when she actually said, "Oh, come darling, let me tell you who I'm going to irritate this morning." And then she'll pick up the phone, she'll call somebody, she'll scold somebody, she puts her phone down and she said, "There, I've done my work for the day."
Sounds like her.
Yep.
It does.
There you go.
But when you were writing for the sports desk, I understand that you've built a pretty strong relationship with the Singapore football team back in the early 2000s. Can you express to us more about that relationship?
It was. I got close. Well, okay. Let me start from the top. I've always been a sports fan. Okay, my father brought me to Kallang National Stadium when I was 3 years old. Okay, and for those of you who don't know the old National Stadium and what it was like in the 70s, as you are walking up the stairs leading up to the stadium, when you hear the roar and the sounds and the knocking of people using their feet to stamp on the ground, it frightens and your hair stands on end because you're a kid. So my father brought me to the National Stadium from the time I was very, very young. So we used to watch matches together. And, he used to carry me, when it was really, really crowded, he used to carry me up the stairs into the cauldron, right? And as you're walking up the stairs into the where you're supposed to sit, that light is shining on you,
The four candles, man.
Yeah,
the four candles.
It just fascinates you, and it brings you into this cauldron where you've got people from all walks of life, regardless of their backgrounds, Indians, Malays, Chinese, Sikhs, Eurasians, every one of us.
Yeah.
Yelling.
Yeah.
Buying our curry puffs and nasi lemak eating. So I've been a football fan from the time I was very, very young. When I was in school, I ended up in Jurong Town Football Club in the youth team, right? And I was in the under-17 team. And then I was under this coach called Richard Chu. And then Richard Chu left to become the coach of the senior team.
Yeah.
And I was still in the under-17 team. And then the person who came to take over Richard Chu was a very young Vincent Subramaniam. And in Vincent Subramaniam, in his first training with the team, he called everybody, did a couple of drills and running around. And after that, at the end of the training session, he gathers everybody, and then he points out you. Okay, you all go there and stand. I got another session for you. Okay, you, which is pointing at me. Jose, you, Jose, it could be Jose. You go back to school. I said, huh? You go back to school. I think football playing is not for you. Yeah, you go and study. That's what he said. You go back to school, go and study. I said, okay. That was the end of my football career, right? But that's why I give it to him. He saw that I didn't have it in me to be a footballer, and that's what good coaches are supposed to do.
Yeah, sure.
He told me to go back to school, and that means he was telling me, go and study, go become someone else in your life, right? So, told me to go back to school. I said, fine. Quit playing. I did not play competitive football anymore. And then from there, obviously we still continue watching Malaysia Cup because it was still on at the time. And for me, the people whom I adore on the field, the Fandi, the Sundramoorthys, the David Lees, it was a pleasure when I actually got that first job to do sports work. And from there, the people whom I used to adore, the people whom I used to idolize, were people whom I got to meet every day, write stories about them.
Awesome, huh?
Right? So from there, I began having a relationship with the national team. But things became a lot better. Relationship became a lot better, or even worse, when the national coach was Reddy Abramovich. With Reddy at the helm, and I was at that time with Mediacorp.
Right.
With Today. I became very close friends with him, and also because I took a decision to support what he was doing, because he explained to me that he was going to help grow the team, start from young, inject the team with a lot of youngsters, give them the opportunities, make them a fighting fit team. So think about it, right? He joined Singapore in 2003. Okay, in 2003, June, July, thereabouts. And in the first couple of months, it was all about, we all did not trust that he was going to be able to do what he could do, because we had previously before him, Jan Paulsen, before that, Vincent, and we had basically gone through years of failure after the 1998 Tiger Cup, in which we won in Vietnam. And then we went through failure in 2000, 2002, we were hammered at the National Stadium 4-0 by Malaysia. That led to Jan Paulsen's sacking. And then after that, Reddy came on in June, in 2003. So, we were all obviously still skeptical he was going to be able to do
what the rest couldn't
take
do.
Football forward.
Yeah.
Because we also had, previously before that, been told that Jan Paulsen is going to lead us to the Goal 2010 World Cup. That did not happen. Anyway, so when Reddy joined in 2003, he had a couple of games, and after that, and we all kept questioning him. And sometimes, when he made some changes in the national team, we questioned him about it. So he sat me down in one of those days having coffee, and he said, let me explain what I'm trying to do. Right? Then he explained to me and whatever. Then he told me that you, as in me, have a very powerful tool, which is the media. I can influence people through my writing.
Okay.
And he said, I need you to believe that I will do something for you, for football, but you must trust me. So it was at that point that I figured, what do I have to lose, right? So I said, fine, I will support you, I'll help you, but I'll be objective. I must be objective. So if I see something which I think is not right, I'll call you out. So it's at that point that I had a lot more access, I think, than many other journalists. I used to follow the team on their trips. I used to follow the team, sometimes even when they travel to places like Kuwait and Jordan. I followed them. Sometimes even at my own cost. I used to pay for my own trips because sometimes, let's be honest, things which are not so important, the newsroom may not have the budget for it. So I used to, inform my editors I would like to do this because I know it's part and parcel of my relationship building my newsmaker. And they agreed. Sometimes I just drive my car up for matches in Malaysia when Singapore used to play with this internationals with Malaysia. And I'll just drive up, follow them, then come back. But that got me very close to the team.
Okay.
And it was through that I began to see a lot from the inside. And what worked for me was just as I was giving him and the team the support, the team lifted the Tiger Cup in 2004. And guess what? I was right there with them the whole time. You see?
So, do you think, 1 year into Reddy taking over, 2004 lifted the Tiger Cup, So, what I'd like to understand is that do you think up to this during Raddy's leadership that he actually made the team successful to his word?
I think the facts. Thank you for the new cup of coffee. Thank you. I think the facts prove louder than any rhetoric. We are all, I mean, I'm an evidence-based person. I look at evidence to draw conclusions. So Reddy won the Suzuki Cup for us in 2004, 2005. He won the Suzuki Cup again for us in 2007. He won the Suzuki Cup again in 2012. He took Singapore to the third round of the World Cup qualifiers. So I think that's enough. That speaks louder than anything else which anyone would like to say. That is results. What we can argue about would be things like, but the team was not really all made up of Singaporeans, or the team had a lot of foreign-born talents. That we can argue about, but results-wise, he got the job done. And he's till today, the most successful national coach we've had in a century. International results-wise.
With that in mind, and in your own opinion, what do you think we need for Team Singapore to ever make it to the World Cup? Let's be real about this.
What we need to make it to the World Cup, we got to host it.
You saw my look, right?
Do
you think okay, fine. Since you said that, on that note, also, do you think it's ever possible in this little island?
Yes, there is a chance for Singapore to be a co-host along with a couple of countries in ASEAN. You see, ASEAN hasn't hosted a World Cup before.
Yeah.
ASEAN, Southeast Asia, is the frontier for the future. It's a place where it's got among the youngest group of
countries, nations.
Youngest group of inhabitants in compared to many other parts of the world.
Sure.
It's a place where you have got a possibility of a burgeoning middle class, who are going to be, lifting themselves out of poverty and going to middle class, and that's a huge base for FIFA, for example, to want to tap into.
But what do you think FIFA they must have thought about this possibility?
I think there is some movement to bring the World Cup to this region in 2034. Yeah, so Singapore is, I think, one of the countries who is aiming to be one of the co-hosts.
But
so
would you think that the heat will be a problem, or humidity will be a problem for most of the players from Europe, for instance?
It's the World Cup is held during the summer anyway, and most of the time, if it's held during the summer, it's actually in some places, in some parts of the world, it's actually hotter than Singapore.
So interestingly, what you are saying is that if ASEAN hosts a World Cup for FIFA, Team Singapore might just stand a chance.
Yeah, we will be one of the host nations, and we have got a team in there already.
But why? It doesn't mean that. I mean, look, we can go to the World Cup. Can come here. The World Cup could be somewhere else. Well, we still need to qualify to get in.
No. If we are host, we have got a
automatic qualification.
Yeah, so if you've got 4 countries in this region taking part, say it's Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam, right? So that means FIFA will have to give us 4 slots.
But do you think our players are up to that kind of standard?
It's okay. As long as we are going to be given that opportunity, and we are told 7 years in advance, it puts the onus on the country to get the players prepared.
Okay, this is where I'm really gonna. I'm sorry, but you just got me going for this. Look at South Korea.
Yes.
When the World Cup was held in South Korea, they did damn well. They made it to the semifinals, right?
Correct.
But we've never expected the South Korean team to make it that far.
Yeah.
But look at the players they've got. I mean, up to now even. That was a make it or break it moment. Today you see the players that's playing in all the major leagues, right?
Yep.
Something magical must have happened. What do you think that was? Could it happen with Singapore?
Of course, it'll happen in Singapore as well.
You're so confident of that.
I am confident because I believe in our people, and I believe they'll rise from the ashes. So will our football.
You're speaking on. You're talking about belief, Jose. You're not talking about the real technical aspects about how factually and practically can our players make it there.
No, but think about it, right? Think about it. Today, if we are told, if our youngsters who are in their probably 15 or 16 are told that in 7 years' time, we are going to host the World Cup. We will have a team at the World Cup because we have been guaranteed a slot to host.
Right.
And the players who are in 14, 15 years old will be the ones who are peaking at that time. And they already know that you have got a slot in the World Cup.
Yeah.
What do you think they will do?
Have to serve NS.
No, that's where you need a whole of government approach to ensure that if we have given a slot to host, those players will also be given that opportunity
for
to train all the way until that World Cup is over. That means knowing that this team is going to be representing Singapore, it takes a whole of government approach, a whole of country approach, not just whole of government, a whole of nation approach to prepare the team and to give them the support and to ensure that they are looked after, given the most up-to-date training and the support systems to get them prepared. And that also means deferment.
To me, this is well, if you will, a dispensation, for these players, right? If this scenario ever occurs.
Yeah.
You really think it's possible?
Possible to get deferment?
Of course. For the government to say, really?
Well, it is. If you're going to be investing in co-hosting, you better invest in our people, because co-hosting does not just mean that you prepare the infrastructure. You got to the infrastructure is just the hardware. You got to invest in the software, the hardware. You got to invest in the people. And that means our players have got to get the right support systems, and it also means that if the government recognizes that national service is an impediment, get them to defer until the World Cup is over. And look, we're not talking about the Asian Cup. We're not talking about the SEA Games.
We're talking about the damn World Cup, man.
Yeah. And your country is hosting it.
Yeah.
You better put on a damn good show.
You know what, my friend? Based on what you've just said, I tell you, if that really happens, I mean, I'm backing this all the way.
And I wish that I was 15 again.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
So now that we're talking about football.
No, but then, if I'm 15 again, Vincent reminds me, come say, you're going to study. It's not going to work.
No, mate. Just wish that we're back, at a point when we just ORD'd. You know what I mean?
It's been so long, I can't remember.
You left in 95, I left in 92. So since we're still on the topic of football, generally, across the board, who's your favorite football team? I will scream if you tell me Singapore.
It's a Singapore national football team. I almost wore my red jersey today. I was thinking, maybe it might be a little bit too tight though.
Okay, I'm not dissing this. I'm really not dissing our young lions, but I just want to ask you again, across the leagues in the world, who's your favorite team?
Right, across the leagues in the world, who's my favorite team? Tampines Rovers.
Oh my goodness me.
Warriors FC. It's gonna be.
You don't watch the English Premier League?
I do. Of course I do. Of course I have a favorite English team.
Okay, let's talk about that one.
No, my favorite team would be Tampines Rovers, Warriors.
Thanks for throwing a damn spanner in the works, man.
Geylang International, Hougang United, my Singapore national football team. Those are my teams, and we must constantly say that those are our favorite teams.
This is our Singapore League, right?
If we are not going to support our own teams, who the hell is going to support our own teams?
You're very right. But then again, look at it from a very, very macro perspective. Why do you think it's not doing as good as it should be?
Well, the infrastructural issues, financial issues, facility issues, and I mean, let's face it. if we pay our players $2,000 a month, obviously they're not going to be able to give you the kind of commitment which they need.
Exactly.
Because they have got lives to lead, and they've got families to feed as well.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what we got to fix.
Yes.
Right? That's
But it's been like this for since the get-go.
It is.
It doesn't seem as if things will be improving.
It's a conundrum because I think the problem we have is it's a very small market. Right, we've got 5.5 million people here, and you don't have enough eyeballs. So unless our product is going to be watched around the world, across the globe, then we can start talking big money, because that's when our players will be able to be recognized and obviously then watched. So the one thing which impedes our soft power, in the global stage, is the fact that we don't have much sportswomen for us to get out and introduce to the world, apart from maybe Joseph Schooling, because he is the Olympic gold medalist. Soft power also requires, in the art of soft power, some countries use sports as a means for diplomacy.
Yes.
You think about Dennis Rodman, for North Korea.
Yeah.
You think about even
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens. You think about even like when London, or when countries are trying to bid to host the Olympics, you'll see the likes of
Sebastian Coe.
Sebastian Coe, the Muhammad Ali, the late Muhammad Ali was in Singapore. Beckham. They basically threw out because that's soft power.
Yes.
Today, we don't have that. And in a soft power report, which is released by this agency called Portland, it actually mentions that we don't have enough sports personalities to use for soft power diplomacy, because we have not invested enough in sports.
Yep.
At all.
But we have our own Singapore sports school.
Yeah, so it's the entire ecosystem.
Do you think that effort is working out, that we're developing better and better sportsmen and sportswomen?
Like I said, I did say earlier that I'm an evidence-based person, and I look at data.
Yeah.
The data seems to show that we are doing worse off at the Asian Games level, right? We are winning lesser medals. So what does it tell you? So it shows that something isn't working.
Yeah.
So every time I kind of look at data sets to try and figure out how we are. But so that data set shows that we're not doing as well as we should at the Asian Games. And Asian Games is at the continental level, you want to at least be performing at that level. Southeast Asian Games is, shall I say it? Yeah. Southeast Asian Games is the Kampong Games, all right? So once in a while, once every 2 years, one of these countries in this region organizes the Kampong Games. Then you see sports like fin swimming, and you see sport like harness, or some of them we don't even know, recognize, right? Because they're not sports. What we should be aiming for would be the Asian Games, Olympics. Okay, even Commonwealth Games I think is losing its luster a little bit. Asian Games, Olympics. At the Asian Games level, are we doing better? The answer is no. At the Olympics, if Joseph Schooling had not won his gold medal in 2016, what would have happened? So Joseph Schooling is actually an outlier.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't training in Singapore.
See, that's where I agree with you. For instance, I'm into strength training, and I know for a fact the powerlifting community in Singapore, we got some hell of a scary lifters here in Singapore.
Matthew Yap, Matthias Yap, the Yap brothers.
My own nephew, he broke the world record for bench press. He went alone to the US to compete, carrying our flag on his back.
Powerlifting is not recognized as a national sports association in Singapore. They get zero funding from the public funds.
You see, in my opinion, why don't we just look into what we're really good at and do something with it, rather than just, we pick and choose. In this instance, maybe if there's red tape involved, I think it's time to just cut some of it and just be open and more open towards, more receptive towards things like that.
I do think that at some point previously, maybe even now, there's always a conversation of whether or not we should just be focusing and targeting certain sports. in which we are good at, or in which our physiology is good at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, there are reasons why your thighs are good in boxing. There are reasons why in certain class of weightlifting, the Indonesians are Olympic level, right? There are reasons why the Vietnamese athletes are almost at continental level, right? I mean, track and field athletes.
Yeah.
And there are reasons why the Malaysian badminton players are world class. That means in this region, we have got the physiology to perhaps do the same similar sports. So we gotta actually do research to find out what we can be good at.
Jose, you know what I think we'll be damn good at? The fastest mouse, esports. So
But esports is the way of the future. As
yeah,
well.
it is. It is.
And it's got a huge
Huge money,
huge
man.
money,
Huge
billion-dollar
money.
industry.
Oh man, ridiculous money. I just want to go on with some more questions.
Sure.
After your stint at the sports desk, you had a string of rather high-profile media roles for Minister Vivian Balakrishnan and Mr. Teo Solak. What was it like working with them or for them?
I have never. Every single day when you work with people who are, who hold high office, it's a day in which you learn something, and demanding. It's very demanding role. You gotta be. You have got to be. You gotta be on your toes. You've got to be your best. You gotta think quickly on your feet. Be able to respond. Be able to deliver. And it was probably among the best days of my life as a public servant, because you learn from people who are helming political office, and you work alongside with them, and it was a learning experience for me.
Okay.
Completely.
But you enjoyed your time. As you said, it's one of the best experiences in your life as a public servant.
Everything you do, you have to enjoy.
Then how is it you went from working for these guys to running as an opposition candidate?
See, those roles are civil service roles, right?
So you're separating the two.
Civil service roles require that you serve the public. And in civil service roles, you have got to look out for the public's interest. And don't forget, I am, as you can tell, I've got a mind of my own. And sometimes I actually do fight back when we are told to do certain things which I don't feel right? But we do it in such a way where we are able to put elements of facts on the table. And yes, ultimately, you will need to follow what the person at the top decides, right? But what we do is we try and put everything at the table so that they make those decisions which are going to benefit society.
Okay.
That's what public service is about.
Sure.
Public service is, yes, you serve the government of the day,
Okay.
but you also look out for the interests of the public,
Right.
right? That's what I used to do.
Right.
When I decided to run for elections, that's exactly the mindset I had, which is why the campaign, the approach which I took was non-confrontational. Throughout my entire 9 days of campaigning, I never once mentioned PAP. I never once even mentioned the name of my opponent. It was about what can I do for the public? What is the value I bring to the table, which will help residents, benefit society, and give them a better life.
And you didn't feel in any way conflicted with the fact that you actually were working for or with, whichever you might prefer, with a minister, a minister and an MP.
Of course, there's going to be conflict. At some point, you'll realize that you lose some friends because of the decisions you make, but you gain a lot more friends because of the things which you do, which people kind of get endearing to. So that's my approach.
Okay.
And I told you that in everything which we do, it has got to be an experience. It's got to be a new chapter you write because it's something which you learn from. What's the point of living when you don't live? You know what I mean?
So speaking of experience, I'd like to ask you about what happened with the Youth Olympic Games.
With the little Youth Olympic Games,
Yeah.
I thought it was damn fun. I was not privy to some of the decisions taken at the board level or above up there. For me, it was just about working with, during the course of the games. I was Teo Salak's press secretary. He was the Youth Olympic Games village mayor. And that was operational already because we were really on the ground. Things were happening. But let me tell you something which happened during the games, which also showed that we were able to take decisions on the ground and just throw bureaucracy out the door. Our football team at that time, during the YOG, were among the most sought after tickets for the YOG. Fans just wanted to watch that team because I think they were doing pretty well, leading up to the semi-finals. So those tickets became the most hot potato items.
Right.
Hot ticket items. And tickets were always sold like hotcakes. There was one match at the Jalan Besar Stadium. It was probably the semi-finals. And Teo Salak was, we were at the Jalan Besar Stadium. And we saw that there were long queues of people trying to get tickets. But tickets were sold out. Why? Because there was allocations to sponsors, allocations to VIPs, and then I think there was and then some allocations to the International Olympic Committee, OCA, Olympic Council of Asia, whatever. Long queues of people were forming outside Jalan Besar Stadium waiting for tickets, right? And they were upset because when they looked in, with 20 minutes left to play, 20 minutes left for the games to start, the stands were empty. I mean, not empty, but there were lots of empty seats.
Empty space.
Empty seats.
Yeah.
And Teo Salak took an executive decision to open up sales of tickets so that fans could buy and enter. And my role on the ground was to go and get all the guys who were selling the ticket booths.
Right.
To sell. And to appease everyone saying, no, we're going to open tickets for sale. So just hang on. You see, if you ask me what are going to be some of the things which I remember from the games,
right,
it'll be things like this. Because that's the essence of public service.
But why did we overspend on the budget?
From what I've gathered through all my own personal research, right, this was the first of its kind. Games, which was the first of its kind.
Right.
From the time it was posted, when it was suggested that we could host the games, the number which was put forward by certain people, not the ministry, not the minister,
Okay.
other people, whom I shall not name,
Okay.
who came forward with this idea, and those people are the ones who said that it was going to cost us $100 million US to host these games. Okay, so the assumption, the government went in with the assumption it's going to cost this, but over time, as it was beginning to develop, when the organizing of the games was beginning to develop, there were a lot of other musts, a lot of other things which were put onto the organizing committee that we needed to have, right? And that came from obviously the people who owned the asset, who owned the IP to the asset,
right,
which is IOC.
Right.
So there were a lot of things which came on along the way, whether or not it's security, whether or not it's the way in which the games was being organized. You see, the whole idea from the start was that it was going to be a Youth Olympic Games. And when you have a Youth Olympic Games, you expect that, it's going to be much, much scaled down compared to an Olympic level event. But
that's the impression.
But it wasn't the case. When we were told to prepare, because it looked like it was like almost at Olympic level, as in like Olympic level. So a lot of things which actually happened at Olympic level were also pushed on for the organizing committee to embark on. So I think that's what led to the escalation of costs.
Right.
But it is what it is, and it happened. But what we take what we learn from it, right? And that would always be in control of the budget.
So it sounds to me that there was a certain amount of responsibility where someone actually messed up.
Not just someone. I think there were
I mean, when I say someone, it
multiple-
could be an entity as well. You know what I mean?
multiple people made multiple bad decisions, and that's what led to what had happened in the end. But if you let's ask ourselves this question, and then again, if you go back to what it was at that point in Singapore, 2008, 2009, think about it. Prior to 2008, okay, when was the last time Singapore hosted a multi-sports event? It was the 1993 SEA Games.
I would have thought it was the SEA Games, but I wouldn't remember the year.
1993 SEA Games.
Okay.
Okay. 1993 SEA Games was the last time Singapore actually hosted a major games.
Okay.
Okay. In 2008, when this idea was put forward, and let's not forget the time in which Singapore was in. We had years under PM Goh Chok Tong, who also helped to build the sports sector.
Yes.
Fought for more support for the athletes. It was also during that time when the entire movement to set up a new Singapore Sports Hub had already been calcified. It was already put into motion to get this project up and running.
Okay.
Now, what's the point of having all of this, preparing athletes, developing infrastructure, when you can host the major games? So that's one of the elements of being also what we call a sports city. Because if you want to develop the economy around sports as well as sports as a sector, organizing major events is an important facet of it. Because when you organize the event, you build an ecosystem, you build an economy, you build an economy around sports. And that means, you'll be able to provide jobs for tons of people in the sector.
Yeah.
Think about it, right? For one major games alone, you'll have event management companies, you'll have DJs, you'll have broadcast journalists, you'll have broadcasters, you'll have physiotherapists, you'll have doctors, you'll have fans, you'll have
other industries will also be
everything.
supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was at that time when you wanted to build sports as a sector,
Bloody good idea.
right? So it was one of the things you got to do, and to develop Singapore as a sports city.
Sure.
You organize major events.
Right.
Don't forget again, 2008, Singapore F1. F1 came to Singapore.
Yes.
We were in talks with WTA to bring a major event. Singapore was wanting to have a cut of that pie, that whole global sports industry pie.
Sure.
Because I do recall, and if my memory serves me correctly, we were among the top 10 cities in the world for sports events
We were.
at that time. Yeah.
And what happened after that? Are we still considered?
Everything has
do you
gone
think?
downhill. Now, I think we are now currently in about 30 plus. So
What happened? What do you think happened? That we could just gone downhill like this?
I would think that the emphasis has shifted from events to community building. Yeah. So don't forget, it was also at that point when the ministry was called the Ministry of Community Youth and Sports.
Yes.
And that changed in 2012 to Culture, Community and Youth. So
And sports was just left out.
sports has been kind of like erased from the ministry's name, and so now the whole emphasis will be culture, community, and youth, right? So that's what's shifted. Right or wrong, that's an argument for another day.
Oh boy. When we look at this pandemic that the world is going through right now, I don't think we can find any leader, or a blameless world leader, except maybe for Taiwan. But here in Singapore, what do you think? What could our nation's leaders have done different, or for this crisis?
Done
In your
different.
opinion,
And done different.
differently.
If you ask me that question today,
Yeah.
To be fair, I think the government's done a far better job than many other countries around the world.
I think so too. Yeah.
And what we could have done better was perhaps to try and understand the virus a lot better in the earlier stages, because I think we were also following a lot of data and information from other sources and making decisions as along the way, which is rightfully so, because that's how policy thinking is about, right? I mean, and when it comes to crisis, you have got to look at the data and then make decisions as you get the data.
Right.
So one thing, if there are a couple of things which I think we could have done better, would be firstly to understand the virus a lot better,
Okay.
a lot faster.
Okay.
Second, I think would have also been to engage with a lot more people. I'm not saying that they didn't, but I'm saying engage with a lot more people who will probably had different views compared to what the general thinking was. And this, I mean, I'm referring to obviously the use of face masks, right, within the earlier stages. Because you did see there were a bunch of medical professionals came out to actually say, no, actually it's a lot better to wear masks as opposed to not wearing masks.
Okay.
I remember that. So the next thing I think I would have done better with would be to communicate at all levels. Because when you just use mainstream media to communicate and it doesn't really filter down, because what I realized on the ground was that there were some points when things were changing every day and people were not keeping up.
Okay.
So on one day you could meet with maybe 5 and then the next day you couldn't. So I think there was some concerns. So on the ground, not everybody reads
the
or
clarity,
listens.
the clarity in that communication.
And so I think that would really be done better. But like I said, to be fair, today we are almost showing. No, today actually, I think there was 0 community cases, right?
Yesterday as well. Today I don't know yet.
Today, yes, I think there's 0 community cases as well. So. And if you look around the world, you see surge in Malaysia, you see surge in parts of Europe.
You see a surge at the White House.
This is, you see, and you see, you look at some countries thinking about going into lockdowns again.
Yeah.
But here we are talking about how we can open green lanes and travel bubbles with other countries of who don't have that many cases. Well, we've not done that badly.
Yeah, I think so.
I think to be fair to them, they haven't really done that badly, and I think we got to credit them for what for where we're in today. I mean, yes, it's there's a lot of COVID-19 fatigue. There's a lot of lockdown fatigue as well.
Yeah.
People are getting edgy, tired. They're having. And obviously the ones who are losing their jobs are going to be a lot more stressed.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we've got to fix now. I think we've got to find solutions for that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, that's enough of the heavy questions, Jose. I'm going to ask you something kind of light now. What does Jose do for fun?
What? For fun?
Please tell me you're still having some fun somehow. Outside of work.
Yeah, I catch up with my closest friends. I've got a small inner circle of very close friends. Some of them are media personalities, and we play poker once every Saturday.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, but we've been doing this for 20 years. Yeah, so...
That's what you do for fun?
Yeah, because that's a time for me to catch up with my friends and talk rubbish and be myself, because these are the guys who've known me before I was a politician. These are the guys who've known me when I used to be 110 kilograms. These are the guys who used to know me when I used to go to clubs and hang out and dance and drink. These are the same guys whom we've grown up together. Professionally. And these are the guys I can actually be myself, because if I try to be someone else apart from myself, they'll say, "Can you just stop it?" Right? So that's what I do for fun. Apart from that, I mean, before COVID, I have an office in Malaysia. So I used to travel up and down by driving. I used to drive up and down because I've got meetings there as well. That's what I enjoy driving. I enjoy taking my car for long distance rides. Yes,
KL.
Yes.
Good grief.
And one of my friends tells me that my trips up to Malaysia and down sounds like as though I'm going there for $200 nasi lemak because there was once I just decided to leave Singapore about 9 p.m. Drive all the way to KL, which takes me about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
That's fast, mate.
And then I have my nasi lemak
at
one of my favorite spots in KL. And then I drove back. And I was back in Singapore by 4 a.m.
You kidding me?
No. So my friends said, "Oh,
dude,
that's like a $200 nasi lemak."
Yeah.
No, but it's what I do for...
Wait. This nasi lemak place you're talking about, at that, graveyard hour, And they're still open.
Yeah, so
this
they
is the one
open-
in Damansara.
No. This is in Kampung Melayu in KL, just behind Concord Hotel. So it is. But you see, it's that whole process of driving, listening to music, which allows me the time to think, because I can't look at my phone. I can't answer WhatsApp messages, and so I'm just driving, focusing on the road, and listening to music and thinking.
You sound, my friend. You sound as if you're still single.
What? No, well, it is what I do to think. I do to listen and get my mind to process. I sometimes actually also fly. I mean, previously I just fly to think, because it's how you.
Therapeutic.
It's how you leave whatever you're facing on your emails and your phone and your WhatsApp messages just behind, and you're able to think and plot, strategize.
You do know I'm not going to let you go on that question or on that statement I made, right? Which you don't Tai Chi this one, huh? You're not married.
I don't answer personal questions at all. And that's what I always tell my interviews, all my interviews.
Even as someone like me who've known you for like 3 decades, I don't know whether you're married or single.
So I don't answer personal questions.
Well, I'm going to ask you after we call for a cut in the show. I've been wondering about that actually, you know.
I'm asked that question all the time.
I'm sure.
But I don't answer personal questions.
What's wrong with saying whether you're married or you're single, mate? There's nothing wrong with that.
Because I don't want the people to know.
So covert about something like this. I don't understand. We've come to this part of the show. It's called a quick fire segment. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to ask you some quick questions. You give me quick answers, okay?
Sure.
But before I go there, there's something that's been niggling in the back of my neck since you mentioned about that magazine. You wrote that article and it got you started in journalism about Sundram versus Fandi.
Yeah.
And you said Sundram was the better player.
Yeah.
Why?
Sundram is a Brazilian in a Singapore body.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you seen the stuff he does with the ball?
Of course I have.
Have you seen before Cristiano Ronaldo?
There was Sundramoorthy.
With his, that whole.
You gotta be shitting me,
with his whole, the side step, the flick over, the.
Hey, no disrespect to Sundram, okay? No disrespect to Sundram, but you're telling me before Cristiano Ronaldo, Cristiano.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Have you seen the stuff Sundram does with the ball?
I have.
It's
But come
shocking.
on, comparing it to
It's shocking. If Sundram was ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I
If
agree.
Sundram was 20 years old today, he's going to be a Singapore sports ambassador. He's going to be somebody who's going to get us to Europe, and he's going to play in Europe. I mean, he ended up playing in Europe anyway, right? But he will end up playing in one of the better clubs in Europe because he's got skills he's got skills of a Brazilian.
But Fandi played in Europe as well for FC Groningen.
Of course. Yes. Fandi is a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Fandi is not a creator. Sundram is a creator, he's a goal scorer, and he's a magician. He does crazy things with the ball.
Okay.
But he's not good with his head though. As in, he can't score using his head for nuts. Yeah.
I remember that.
That's the difference.
Was it him? The bicycle kick. Him, right? It was him, right?
The Singapore versus Brunei 8-0.
That was the one that we all went, whoa!
Yeah. So that, imagine, you don't see, I don't think you've seen Fandi do that. So Fandi has got his scissors kick and he's got his half volley. Mm-hmm. But you've not seen him do something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Okay, no disrespect to Fandi Ahmad as well.
Yeah, of course. They all. I believe that all our athletes are superheroes. They have got skills which none of us have. They are unique in their own ways. But when posed with the question, who's the better player, Fandi or Sundram? To me, it's Sundram.
Okay. Now let's start with a quick fire segment.
Okay.
Here's the first question.
Sure.
If you could get yourself anything, what would you get?
Happiness?
Okay. What was your favorite book growing up?
Oh, a whole bunch of Enid Blyton books.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which one?
it's-
Secret 7 or Famous 5? Gotta be right.
It was Famous Five.
Famous Five,
So
okay.
it was a whole Enid Blyton books.
What is the last thing you liked on social media?
Liked?
Clicked
Liked?
on liked, yeah.
I cannot remember. I think it was one of my friends' posts earlier as I was waiting for you.
Was it?
Yeah.
If you had access to a time machine, where and when would you go and why?
I would go back to 1963 when JFK was assassinated. I would get back to that very point and trying to warn everybody it's going to be assassinated.
You mean at Dealey Plaza? You're gonna go back to Dealey Plaza and
And
warn?
warn them that he's going to be assassinated.
Okay, why?
He was a visionary. He
There
said,
would not have been a Vietnam War, you mean?
he said things in 1963, 62, which you can never imagine somebody at that time was saying. He was one of those who took a stand when a lot of people were shying away from equal rights. That's a visionary. And he was somebody whom I think we all hope that every single politician is like a JFK. I mean, I'm not saying that he's perfect, but he had his weak points as well.
Oh, he did, for sure. Yeah.
But, I mean, think about the Bay of Pigs. You think about the Cuban
Missile
crisis.
Crisis.
You think about, what he talked about racial equality. You think about the things which he was fighting for. And then we lost someone like JFK so early,
Yeah.
right? And then you look at that, 1960s to what America is today.
And the space race as well, he was responsible
Yes.
for NASA.
Yeah, and you think about, and you see what it's election season, right? So you see what you have today, and you realize that the guy's a visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I wish to be back in.
But you do know, right? I mean, I believe in the conspiracy theory that there was more than just one gunman.
That's why I want to warn them. So we
There's
can
going to
go
be quite a number of people
Yes.
you need to stop, you know.
So we got,
The grassy knoll. you know.
yeah. So, but at least you go warn them that don't go there with your with the hood up,
Yeah,
get protection.
It's ridiculous, wasn't it? Just imagine you're the president of the United States and the first lady seated down in an open top
Yeah.
convertible. It was crazy,
Anyway,
man.
so yeah, you did not expect that, did you?
No, I
You did not
didn't.
expect that answer, right?
No, I did not. But I enjoyed that though. I do.
go.
I see your point of view because you're right. How would things be like if that man didn't die?
Exactly.
Yeah. Who was the last person you went to dinner with?
Huh? What is it today? Today is
What day is it today? Today is Friday.
Today's Friday.
That would be last night then. Oh no. Anytime you had dinner with someone else.
Dinner. What day was today? Yesterday? No. What's it? To Wednesday?
Was it a wife?
No.
No.
No. As in like no. I Wednesday, Tuesday.
No, it wasn't the wife. Is that what you're trying to say? No, it wasn't the wife?
Who did I have dinner with a couple of
Well,
days
you
back?
see, this is called ignoring me. Ignoring the question.
No, I'm trying to go through my. No, you see, I have. Okay, let me explain why I'm taking time to answer. Every single day,
Yeah.
my breakfast, lunch, and dinner are all caught up with meetings.
Okay.
So I think the last dinner I had was with one of my mentees
Okay.
2 days ago.
Okay.
Because it was at Red Sparrow in Dempsey.
So it wasn't the wife, huh?
I don't answer personal questions.
Okay. Who were your last 3 WhatsApp messages to?
Oh, my poker group to ask them whether there's poker tomorrow. And then and there was one. One was to set up a client's meeting for next Tuesday. And the third one was to confirm a client's meeting on Monday.
Okay. We're all about work except for the poker bit, huh?
Yeah. Focus is supposed to happen tomorrow. You see. It's supposed to be today, but they postponed it tomorrow, so I just confirmed.
Just make sure that you've got the cash, is it?
No, to make sure that I've got my spot. No, because you can only have 5 guests.
Okay. We don't know whether this is legal or not.
No, it is.
So
it
let's
is.
not. Oh, okay.
Because it's in someone's house and
Okay.
it's among friends.
Okay.
And
Make sure you got the buy-in. Huh?
yeah, yes. So my seat, I have my seat. If now I'll give up my seat. If I don't confirm my seat, then someone takes over my seat. I lose my seat. I lose my fun for the week.
Which chore do you hate doing?
Which chore?
Chore.
Cleaning my office, I guess. I clean my own office.
Oh, wow. Really?
So because sometimes I end up irritating the cleaner because I will put all the rubbish in one big bag and then they having problems carrying it down and I help them carrying it down.
How many
they get
days of
upset.
rubbish do you guys keep in the office?
Well, a week plus.
Oh, gosh.
No, sometimes because I do have meetings in my office and we end up having wine in the office and
explains
sometimes
it.
there's like more than one bottle of wine.
Yeah, explains it, man.
Yep.
When was the last time you were late for something?
I'm usually never late for anything. I have got what my friends call press secretary timing. If something starts at 4 o'clock, I'm there 15 minutes before. If something starts at 2 o'clock, I'm there 15 minutes before. So it's become a habit that I'm usually never late. In the only time, if I maybe end up being late would mean that I'm 3.5 minutes early.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah.
What sports, and it's not poker, do you play?
What? Now?
Yeah.
Now?
Now.
Oh, I swim and walk. I don't skip. I skip, but skipping a sport. I skip.
Piece of advice, young man. Whatever you do, don't start doing stuff that, active activities that 50-year-old does, because you got to do something more than that.
Oh, yeah. So I
Take my advice.
Swim, and I actually love swimming in the open sea. And I used to make it a point to swim in the open sea at least once a year without any gear except for my pair of goggles and trunks. Trunks.
Please tell me you don't do that kind of thing alone.
I do it alone. Yeah. So where the sailing center is? I used to park my car there in the sailing center around there and just get onto the sea and just swim out
My dear friend.
and then swim back.
You know how dangerous that is.
Yeah, but you see, I'm used to it. So I make it a point to try and swim in the open sea at least once a year. But I've not done that in the last 1 year because I've not had an opportunity. But you require all kinds. You need lungs of steel to do that.
So it's just not about that, mate. There are other dangers as well. There's riptide. There's all kinds of stuff.
When it's time to go, it's time to go.
Oh, stop that. Oh, man.
I do that because I need to think. And I use that opportunity when I'm on my own in the sea to think.
You take a plane,
Yeah.
you go on a flight to think, you take
Yeah.
a damn long drive to KL and back to think, and then you go swim in the open sea to think. I mean, dude, there's something really wrong with you, man.
I'm just different.
You just take a spot in the corner somewhere in a nice cafe, sip on a cuppa,
can't.
and start thinking.
I can't. The phone will start buzzing.
Turn off the damn phone.
No, I can't. Because when you're sitting in the cafe, you want to look at your phone.
Anyway, that's the last of the quick fire questions, my friend. Thank you so very much for being with me today.
You done?
Yeah, man, we are.
Really?
Do you know how long we've been talking?
No.
It's
I
been
left my phone off.
It's been an hour plus.
Really?
It has.
Oh, really?
Time flies when you have cameras in front of you.
Oh.
I can tell you that much. Anyway, thank you so very much for being with me. This has been Jose Raymond, my Kopi Kaki. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, and thank you so much also for sharing with us a lot of information. There's something that a lot of people don't know about. Now we know. And until the next time we see each other again, stay safe and stay sane. Bye, everybody.